what we're seeing in general is that the majority of respondents both produce and consume APIs. So the use of third-party APIs, either from other teams within your organization as you're moving more into that composable architecture, or even outside of your organization is on the rise. So it's very natural to understand what you're good at as a core capability, what others are good at, and reuse existing components where possible. So most teams are wearing both hats, and we're seeing kind of similar scores over the last number of years. So 74% indicate that they're both consuming and producing APIs. And if we look at what's important from a consumer perspective, well, we learned that consumers care most about ease of use, about accurate and detailed documentation, about responsiveness and performance. So if you're in the business of providing APIs to your consumers and you care about quality, then dealing and providing these consumer expectations should be one of your quality priorities, and delivering that overarching experience will be a determining factor with regards to whether your API will be classified as successful or not. And what we're seeing is that regardless of whether you're a consumer or you're a provider, everyone is attuned to the importance of API quality. So 78% of respondents say that API quality is either very or extremely important to their organization. In the previous slide, we learned that consumers care most about ease of documentation and accurate and detailed documentation. So of course, surely if you're providing APIs and a lot of the time you're also a consumer of an API, then you will guarantee that the APIs that you produce, well, you as a provider or as a consumer would also enjoy consuming those APIs. But we're not quite seeing that match up in the data. So what we're seeing is that there's a little bit of an execution gap with regards to the expectation of what we all have as consumers with regards to what's important versus the reality of what's happening on the provider side. So only 48% of API providers are confident that their API docs are well documented, that their APIs are well documented. And looking at the overall process with regards to getting up, running, and consuming an API, in or around 43% are unsure that their process will deliver the appropriate or the expected developer experience for their consumers. So what we're seeing is that there's certain obstacles that the providers are indicating that's hindering them getting to the level that they would expect themselves as an API consumer. And the main obstacles that were cited are limited time due to workloads, documentations getting out of sync with the implementation. So perhaps they have a code first approach. They're not putting kind of API documentation and API design and integrating that into their process in a repeatable pattern. They also indicated that lack of people with the appropriate design skills and lack of appropriate tools is hindering them getting to where they want to get to from an API documentation quality perspective to deliver that overarching developer experience, hence the execution gap, so to speak. But it's not all doom and gloom. You know, those working on APIs in general have a positive sentiment around where their APIs are going. So the future is bright, and there does seem to be a willingness to improve. So no matter what way I kind of sliced and diced the data, the general vibe seemed to be positive across the 5 questions that are listed here. And overall, respondents tended to have positive feelings about design, the process for delivery, security aspects. It does seem to kind of trend upwards the larger the organization. But then again, there was nothing really that points to a concern with regards to companies who are more immature in their API journey. So in general, I think we can all be looking forward to API quality improving over time, assuming that the tools that we make available to the practitioners can help them assert quality earlier and faster in their development lifecycle.